morning, good afternoon, depending on where you sit in the world. You're going
I'm in the
to.
afternoon, Corey. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm in the morning here, Anthony, and I want to introduce you to our audience, the Safety on the Edge audience. Anthony, I've listened to you before when you were speaking at our virtual conference last year, and quite fascinating talk that you had and very interesting. If you can just, before we start talking and delving into AI,
Sure, of
can you just introduce yourself? Who are you? Where you
course.
come from?
I was born in Canada, which I think where you are at the moment.
Yep.
Raised in the UK, had most of my formative years in education there, then studied in Paris for a period of time, and then ended up coming back to the UK and then on to Australia, which is really where I started my career in risk, and specifically high risk environments, mining, oil and gas, electrical transmission, you name it. Um, I then, more through accident than by design, ended up in artificial intelligence. I started a business and we created our own AI system. And from there, when we were deploying our AI system, I obviously came across lots of people in the industry, and I realized that there were some real concerns about what was going on within AI and the speed of its development and the subsequent tearing up of safety legislation surrounding AI. And so I turned my attention very much towards risk and AI. And I guess that's what brings us together now.
Yeah, yeah. Quite a journey actually, and to get into this whole world of AI, which, if you think about it, it has come about in a very short space of time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's part of the, I mean that's the amazing thing about it, but it's also a slightly terrifying thing about it as well. I mean, it's moving so fast that even since my last discussion with you prior to the Safety on the Edge a virtual conference, things have moved apace. I mean, the changes that are afoot now are unbelievable. Some very good, some very concerning.
Yeah. Well, I'm watching, people post on LinkedIn all the various AI programs or interventions
Uh-huh.
that you can get. This is outdated. Now this is the new one. And I
Uh-huh.
look at the ones that are outdated. I've never even heard of the outdated ones. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
there's all new ones on the shore.
And I mean, it's amazing. You know, before it was usual to wait, 6 to 8 months for a new version of something to come out, which is pretty rapid when you think about it.
Yeah.
Uh, we used to wait, a year and a half for a new iPhone. Now the new large language models are updating and they're coming up with new ones. It seems every month there's a
Yeah.
new version, there's an updated version, there's something new that would be confronted with. And now, of course, in the world of agentic, which is again got some incredible opportunities available, but also some serious risks associated with it. It's moving faster than we can blink.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you're going to have two sessions at the conference. You're going to have on the second day, you're going to have a stream, a 45-minute presentation, and then you're going to have a 2-hour workshop on the next day, the 7th. Um, Take us a little bit through the things that you're going to, especially, want to do in the workshop. What are the things that you want to cover there?
Well, I think it's a bit of myth busting for a start. What people know and what they don't know, what they think they know about AI, um, uh, perhaps alleviating some of the concerns that they may have, but also raising some issues that they may not even realize they'll be confronted with. We're researching at the moment with some colleagues through an institution I'm a senior fellow, a research fellow of. We're looking at cognitive offloading. In other words, how we offload our thinking to AI and behavioral risk. That visceral sense that we go into, that we have when we go into a high risk environment. And the hypothesis is that that will be diminished the more we cognitively offload to AI. And I mean, these are things that I wouldn't have even thought about discussing with you even 6 months ago.
Yeah.
6, 8 months ago. Now they're right at the forefront. So that's one of the things that we're going to be talking about. And then also in the workshop, it's really looking at how do we, if we're going to deploy AI, and we are because you can't get away from it, what do we have to have in place? What are the steps? What are the governance pieces that we need that are absolutely essential for us to ensure that when we do deploy AI, it's done in the best way possible for our people in our organization, and we don't hit walls and we don't fall over. So those are some of the things. It's really a thought provoking and to get discussion going and to get people prepared when they go back to their work to ask the right questions and to say, do I know this? What don't I know? How do I find out? And what
Yeah.
do we need to what are the building blocks we need to have in place to ensure that we've got the best governance possible?
Right. One of the things that strikes me, and I'm not too sure how even to put this into a meaningful context, but um, when you manage a process, let's start with at the very basis of things. There's a line manager, and they manage a process. They are going to replace a massive part of the process because it's maintenance issues, etc. So they go through meetings and they go through planning processes, and they sit in meetings and they actually discuss and analyze and they make decisions. And everybody involved in that knows and understands what's happening and the logic of things. Now, my question is, are we going to rush into a situation or find ourselves in a situation where these kind of issues are fed into an AI algorithm, if you can call it that, and it pops out the scheduling and the issues, and no one understands the logic anymore, the
Um,
foundational side of that decision making. Is that an issue?
it's happening.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
happening right now. So it's absolutely an issue. I spoke about this cognitive offloading. Let me share something with you just briefly, just to allow people to sort of think about just one small thing. When you used to drive around South Africa many, many years ago, you probably had a map on the front of your car and you were trying to find your way and you were using a map,
Yeah, yeah. And,
right?
and you were actually driving one eye on the map and the other eye on the road.
Yeah, some people would say that wasn't the best way, but I mean, getting around London, it was always the A to Z, find your route and then drive and, you memorize things and so on and so forth. Now we have satellite navigation. Not only have people forgotten, and there's a really interesting study about this, not only have people forgotten how to use a map, they've actually forgotten how to memorize routes.
Absolutely, I know that. I've done that.
So, yeah, so just that one thing, and this is way before large language models came in. So now extrapolate that across process management, across critical decision making, across what would normally take place collectively between human beings to discuss the right way of doing something. Now, as soon as we offload that to some third party that we believe to be right, incidentally, because the other thing is there is an assumption that AI is always right, and of course it's not.
Mm.
What happens to our brains? What happens to our ability to actually make decisions? What happens to all these things that are innate to us, made us really good at what we do? And now we've just handed it across in the hope that the information that we're going to get back is right. So, to answer you, is this an issue? It's something we're confronted with right now.
Yeah.
It's a huge issue, and it's going to be amplified much more in the future. And unless you have the right culture, systems, things in place, these are some of the things that are going to really cause us problems in the future.
So if that happens in the human brain, obviously that's transposed over the organizational brain.
Yeah.
And so are the organizations, brains, concept, corporate issues, are we seeing a de-skilling, a lack, a loss of capability there
Rapidly.
very rapidly?
Rapidly.
And what's going to be the consequence of that?
We don't know. And I mean, this is the problem. The traditional risk models we've been using thus far, consequence and likelihood and all those sorts of wonderful things that we put in place in the physical risk environments, we're not in that world anymore. We have no idea. We don't know how likely the problems are going to be. We know the risks, some of the risks and hazards, but there are others that are emerging that we hadn't conceived of. We are being confronted with the speed, the acceleration of these things in themselves is a risk, because there's this rush to deploy because people don't want to be left behind, and they're not really thinking about the implications all the time. Of course, they want to be competitive, they want to do the right thing, but they don't, in some cases, know what the right thing is. So, look, in short, I would say the effect on human cognition and skills and our ability to think critically, our memory, our spatial awareness are all being affected by this hazard of cognitive offloading. And
Mm.
unless we get a handle on that, we're going to have some serious issues in the future. And we don't know how profound those are going to be, but we know they're happening already.
Yeah. You spoke a little bit earlier about Elon Musk mentioning AGI.
AGI. Yeah.
What is that, and what is your view on the implications of that?
Wow. Artificial general intelligence. I, it's an incredible concept. Personally, I find it absolutely terrifying. Um, I don't know why we would need something like that. I don't know why we would need super intelligence.
So that's what it is. It's super intelligence.
Essentially, well, not initially. Not initially. It will just mimic or be as a human, in the sense that it will be potentially conscious in some way we don't really understand. But it will ostensibly have, in its earliest forms, be as close to human intelligence as could possibly be. Now, I philosophically, I have some issues with that, because I think there's something uniquely human about humans, that I don't think machines could replicate, but it could be a very, very close, a close, I would say,
Clone.
example, clone, whatever you want to call it, that would be close enough for us to think, ah, yes, it is like a human being. Once that's produced, and the speed of the way it would learn, the speed it would be able to absorb data, manage data, deal with data, reason at the same time at speeds where simply we can't even comprehend, it will be a super intelligence. And I guess we're just hoping it will have the same moral compass that right thinking human beings do. But there's no reason for us to believe that's the case. Because we could think about building some controls into its architecture, but if it's that intelligent, then it could easily get around those controls.
Well, if it's close to human intelligence, obviously humans have a knack for doing the right thing, but at the same time doing the wrong thing in simple
Absolutely.
terms.
And humans break rules all the time
Yeah.
because it's expedient, or they think they're doing the right thing by breaking the rule, or they think the rule is dumb in the first place. So, I think going down this route, aside from the moral issue of making a god in our image, I'm not sure the need for it. I don't believe we do need it. So I don't understand the desire for it. On a personal level, I think it's I'm morally compromised about that.
But it's going to
Think
happen.
it's
It's
probably going to
unstoppable,
happen at
as you
some
would say.
point in the future. So unless collectively we decide we do not want it, and it's prohibited, and we're not going to go down this route. Of course, that's assuming the world is in lockstep in this. But if people aren't always the case. But I heard a broadcast recently. It was an interview with Elon Musk, which I found terrifying, when the interviewer was saying, well, we better get AGI before anyone else, because if we're going to create killer robots, they better be American killer robots. Well, AGI doesn't think like that. It doesn't care if you're American, if you're Chinese, if you're North Korean. It's not really going to have a view on that,
Mm.
if it's that intelligent. So again, we need to be a little bit careful. We need to be very careful, not a little careful. We need to be extremely careful how we go about this. But also, really, let's just take it back to an individual level. As individual, unique people, we have to think about how we engage with AI. We have to decide if we are going to let it write our professional documents for us, if it's going to do everything on our behalf, if we're going to have it, we're going to link it to our calendar and it will just order us everything and do everything on our behalf. And then what will be our purpose in life? What's the meaning that we will derive from that? So we all have an individual responsibility to use this unbelievable tool sensibly, to enhance us and to help us, not to essentially relinquish what makes us, or try to relinquish what makes us uniquely human. That is a mistake.
Yeah. Okay, that's the big scare on the horizon, and I hear
Yeah.
what you say, and of course that's what's. I mean, you said at some point maybe we don't even know what we don't know, and that's part of the things that you're going to explore in this workshop. What
Absolutely.
don't we know that we don't know? But what on the upside? Where do you see the real great impact on what we do? What we do as a.
Absolutely. I mean, like as I said, there's huge opportunity in this. It is an incredible tool. Imagine we knew something was flawed. We knew there was a problem somewhere in a design of a high risk operation, but we couldn't find it. We were analyzing and analyzing. We had the best brains, but there was, and we've probably both been in situations where there's just this anomaly, and we're
Mm,
scratching our heads, going, why is that so? Why are those problems happening there? I just can't understand it. I can't unpick it. Now, you run AI across that, and it's going to be able to crunch the data so much more efficiently than we are. It will be able to find those issues.
yeah,
I
yeah,
believe that to be a real golden opportunity for us to
yeah,
make our environment much more secure. We're always going to have to take risks, but the way we control the risks, the way we approach risk, the knowledge we will have in advance of entering onto a high risk operation, it doesn't take away our responsibility to ourselves and others around us, but the information we will have, the relevance of that information, the speed at which we can access that information if we're concerned, if we have our gut feel is telling us something that we're not sure about and we want to check it, the speed at which we can get that data is unparalleled now.
yeah, yeah. I'm not too sure how even also to formulate this, but um, is there the potential for the AI tool? You talked about, okay, there is an anomaly in a process and we don't know how to solve it, and it runs over it and it does it, and that's a great opportunity. But is there also an opportunity for a process that we don't even know that there could be an anomaly? There is potentially one. Is it going to be searching into that potential, or do you have to direct it towards something?
Uh, well, there are people that would say it will create processes for us and it will spit them out and it will find things and it will conceptualize and all these sorts of wonderful stuff. I'm of the opinion it should be our co-pilot. It should not be the pilot.
Yeah,
So we should direct it. Human beings have, especially collectively, have an unbelievable ability to assess situations in a way that AI never will be. And the reason for that is we have a body. I know this sounds a bit strange, but we are physically in the world. We understand what it's like to actually pick up a hammer and feel the hammer in our hand and know the hammer has a particular weight and know that it is right for the job instinctively. AI will tell you how to use your hammer, but it won't tell you if it's too heavy for your build. It won't tell you if it's too light for the particular job you want to do. It can make specifications based on a bunch of data points, but your being in the world, I'm quoting Heidegger now, is actually critically important for safety and risk. It's actually what makes us unique in this. So if we're going to create processes that are designed by, and they might be the best processes the data tells the AI to do and to build, there may very well be anomalies just in that because we haven't directed it. We're allowing it. Again, we're offloading to it. It's creating something, and we're saying, oh, that must be the right way. And we'll just go about it blindly. And I think you're going to end up with problems there
Yeah,
because
yeah,
only we are actually physically doing the thing, the action.
definitely. So that comes to this question of consciousness.
Hmm.
That and there's the concern in AGI that this can become actually conscious.
Yes.
But what you're saying is that because you are not present physically, you cannot be that conscious. You won't have that ultimate connection with consciousness.
Yeah, that's right. And there's a lot that I'm working with philosophers at the moment on this very point. Risk has never really played a very big part in philosophy, but that's
Yeah,
changing now. It's actually changing, and it's really interesting. You're dealing with these professors from these universities who are asking these questions about consciousness and artificial intelligence, and not about passing a Turing exam, the Turing test, which was
Mm,
supposedly the ultimate test. Nothing to do with that. It's actually to do with consciousness and human, and the differentiation between what makes us human and what makes artificial intelligence not human.
yeah. Well,
And
this is to me actually a beautiful linking with a concept that I have built into our approach to safety. If we come back to the world of safety,
yeah,
and one of the taglines that we use and practicalize is that humans are the strongest link in the safety chain,
they
not
are.
the weakest, because of this intuition. And I'll tell you a quick story. And this, I mean, this is now completely out of this world of what we're talking about, but it is actually reflective of what you're saying. When I started my work way back in South Africa, I had to go and work on the ground. I was the HR manager, but the manager told me, you better get yourself into the real world, understand what real people are doing in real jobs. I ended up in a stope on the ground, thousands of meters on the ground, a stope that was 39 inches high. And that's where we drilled for platinum. We blasted and drilled and blasted for platinum. But we're walking down this drive one day, and there's a old timer with me, and we're chatting about stuff that miners talk about. And the next moment, he grabbed me on the arm and said to me, "Wach, wach." It's Afrikaans for wait, wait, wait. And I'm stunned and I'm stopping, and I look up, and he's just staring like a animal into the distance. And the next moment, a massive amount of rock comes down
Yeah,
where we would have been out of the hanging wall, and we would have been crushed. And I said to him, "How did you know that?" And he said to me, "I'm working on this mine for 35 years now, and when you're this long into this world, the mind starts talking to you,
yeah.
and all you got to do is listen." Now that's that intuition, that's that consciousness almost, because you are being there. And to me, this is a beautiful analogy of actually what you just said.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it paints the picture perfectly. And on a similar note, they have just put AI into this hospital to do patient monitoring, and there was an elderly patient, and all the systems seemed to show everything was fine. And one of the nurses, very, very experienced nurse, similar sort of thing, 30 years of nursing, looked at the patient and went, no, something's not right. Went up to the patient, and sure enough, that patient was running a low grade fever and had the beginnings of what could have been a massive infection that could have been that patient's demise. Not picked up by all these whiz bang wonderful things run by AI. AI is programmed to do this, it follows the program, but it doesn't deal with anomalies. And it doesn't have that sense that when she saw the hairs on the back of the patient's hands standing up, she realized in all her experience that that showed that there was something wrong with her body temperature.
yeah. Hmm.
And it was a subtle
Interesting.
signal that she wasn't even aware of at the time. And he
Yeah,
probably just he wasn't thinking to himself, I'm just going to inspect all the walls of the mine.
yeah,
He had some visceral sense of going into that environment, and it's something you can't even explain.
Yeah, you can't explain this intuitive kind of
Yeah.
response that you have. It's a capability, it's a competency, I guess. But on the other hand, and this is just coming to my mind. I was reading. I'm not sure if this is true. Maybe it's probably true. Of the You remember this video clip that came around like 20 years ago now of the basketball players that were throwing the ball and a
Oh yeah,
gorilla walking
and a
past.
monkey walks. The guy in a monkey
Yeah,
suit walks through. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and
absolutely.
no
Of
one
course.
sees it until you see it, and then it
Yeah,
was a
yeah, yeah.
beautiful thing. What I have read is that they've actually put an image of a gorilla into X-rays, and the radiologists missed that
Wow.
to the same degree that this video would. So they didn't see the gorilla because it was this image that is not supposed to be there. So they're not seeing it. But
Yeah,
running this through AI, it sees it.
that is true. That is true. The AI would see it and would call it out and say,
Yeah,
what is this doing there? However, if the AI, on the flip side, if the AI had done the risk assessment on going into that mine, you may not have had, and you didn't have that experience 30
yeah,
year old plus 30 plus year miner with you, it might have been a very different story. I'm saying that AI is fantastic, but it's a tool.
it's a
It's a
tool.
tool. It's not some kind of panacea for us.
Yeah.
And like all tools, it can be used, it can be misused, but it's also a product of its architecture and its programming.
Mm.
Large language models will never challenge you. They'll never
Yeah,
push.
that to me was fascinating. You
Yeah,
say it gives
sycophancy
you
is
some.
built in.
Yeah, you say,
Yeah,
okay, now actually, I don't agree with this. Can you do this and this? Oh, yeah, sure. Here's the arguments for that.
yeah, absolutely. As I say, sycophancy is built in. This is the whole point because it gets tokens when people come back and ask more questions, so they feel good. Oh, this is actually not challenging me, and it's a kind of good feeling thing. And it gets negative tokens when people don't come back and prompt.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the whole build of the architecture is around pleasing people. Actually, you can ask that question of Claude and ChatGPT. Why are you so pleasing?
yeah. And what will it
Why
say?
do you have sycophancy? You put the prompt in, see what happens.
All right.
Will you ever challenge me properly?
Well,
And
let's do it.
just put the
Let's do
prompts
it
in
right now.
and just see it. I was going to put some of those wonderful prompts into the talk, and you can see what happens. It's very interesting
Yeah.
because it is honest.
Okay, I'm putting it in. Will you ever challenge me on a topic like that?
You can say, "Why are you so pleasing?"
Okay, let's
It's
say that.
really, really, why are you so pleasing and sycophantic is the first one. And then once it answers that, then will you ever challenge me properly on a topic unless I specify that you do so?
Okay, let's go with why are you so pleasing and sycophantic? Short answer, because the system is optimized to be helpful and non-confrontational. And that often gets expressed as overly agreeable.
There you are. Okay.
That's amazing. That's
So,
lovely.
so the architecture is designed, it's specifically designed to do that, and therefore it cannot not do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So if you put something in and it doesn't know the answer, it wants to be pleasing, so it's going to make up something.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
this the best process for that? And if it doesn't have the data to tell you no, it will simply create data out of the blue and just go, this is the best way because it wants to be helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. What is the other question
The other
you
question, will you ever challenge me unless I ask you to do so?
will you ever challenge me unless I ask you to do so? Right. Let's see what this is. Yes, when it materially improves the answer, you don't need to explicitly ask for a challenge. I will push back by default in cases where your assumption is weak or incomplete. There is a known counterposition. You're making a decision that carries risk.
Oh, that's interesting.
The framing itself is limiting to quality of the outcome. So it does, it will want to challenge you. Okay, this is interesting. You make a decision that carries risk,
Mhm.
strategic, operational, reputational. Well,
Oh, I don't know if that's accurate. Ask, is this accurate? Is this genuinely accurate? How would you know if it's reputational, operational, or physical risk?
yeah. How would you know it carries risk? But only if it's known to be carrying risk.
It's known to be carrying it. It's not gonna. Unless his data specifically tells you that. But by the way, what do you classify as challenge? I
Yeah,
don't. You know, I I question that. Which one? Which model are you using, by the way?
ChatGPT.
Okay,
And it says, and so I ask, how accurate is this? He says, he or she or whatever, how accurate is what I said? Well, it's partially accurate.
there you go.
Interesting. Yeah. So this is a and so, but to coming back on this very same topic, one of the things, one of the systems that we put in place in a risk system is the capability of the organization to challenge itself,
Yes,
to move into a phase of being not generative but regenerative. So you can actually self-correct yourself in the long. So we have teams that can actually do that in the organization. So typical, like the Simian Army teams of Netflix. Um,
yes,
so
yeah,
so that is an essential characteristic of change and improvement and growth in an organization.
yes.
And this seems to be, to me now, where AI will be least effective.
It will be effective in terms of if the right data is in the model, and it's if we use the data, if we're just using it as a local supercomputer, if you like,
Yeah.
to provide us with information that we require to make better decisions, but the human beings are making the decisions. Treat it, if you like a voice in the room. All right, it's a voice in the room. It's just additional information. All right,
Mm.
that is its role. So, for example, if we had a multiplicity of information that we needed to process and prioritize, we could put it to the AI model and say, prioritize this in terms of whatever parameters you want to put in place. And it would probably do a very, very good job of that. And then we could make an assessment. As a matter of fact, Epiphany does just this. So, when we say, when Epiphany is looking at what's wrong with an organization, whether for risk or whatever, you run the Epiphany model and it says, okay, well, you've got these things in problem areas. This is the priority areas that you really need to look at. This is really when they should be done. But it's up to the organization to say, is that right for us? Do we have the
Mm.
resources to do that? Is number two better? Are we going to get more bang for our buck doing that? It's not making a decision, it's simply providing information. And I
Yeah.
think in terms of change, in terms of transformation, it does have a role, but it's an adjunct to what the humans are doing. It's not instead of.
Yeah. So there's gonna still be the whole issue of error
Yep.
in decision making is still inherent in the whole process. So let's take, for example, organization is heavily into AI. It did what you just said, let's analyze this through AI. And we decided, oh, from the options that we were given, we're going to take option two, and there they go. And it turns out to be a catastrophic event. What now? Legally, jurisdictionally, what is going to be?
Well, legally, it's the same. The liability still rests with the people that made the decision, the officers of the business of the organization. So, I mean, there's no getting around that. Now, if you're saying it would be even worse, however, if you just allowed AI to do it. Now, again, when we're going down to compliance routes and this sort of thing, we have to be careful as to whether or not we're just buying a third-party system that we're using to help us. In which case,
Yeah. But here's the scenarios evolving now. For instance, who's this? There was a shooter the other day that was in Canada, I think it was,
yeah, yeah.
and his postings on the AI platform was now becoming known, and now they're going to sue OpenAI.
That's right, because they didn't alert the authorities to those prompts that were coming
Yeah,
in.
But isn't that the same
saying
then with
how's the
if
best. Uh,
they're going to transfer the accountability for the decision to the platform?
yeah,
I'm surely lawyers are going to do that.
they're going to try. Again, we go back to what is it? What is baked into AI, and what is it designed to do? What's it for? And I mean, the human factor is still always going to be at play. As we said, it's a tool. It can be used. No one, the AI did not force that person to go out and buy a weapon and ammunition and shoot people. That
No,
person is mentally ill. Now, if you could say, well, they did all these prompts in AI, AI persuaded that person to do so, I would say there's other people in that person's community that would have seen what that individual was like and the issues with that individual, and alarm bells should have been ringing long before, whether it's in the gun store, whether it's the place you bought the ammunition, whether it's the shooting range, whether it's whatever. But like you say, there's never one source when it comes to a catastrophic event. There's usually multiple things going on simultaneously.
yeah. So
To drop it,
organizationally, this is going to become. I mean, everybody's going to look for
yeah,
outs and for avenues.
yeah,
How do we disperse this accountability away from us?
yeah.
And
Ultimately, I don't really think you can. I mean, well, first of all, legislation is way behind this anyway. I
mm,
mean, the legislators cannot keep up with what's going on.
that's the
And,
issue. Yeah.
I mean, that's clear. So whatever laws they're going to be using in terms of holding people to account, I don't think they're going to change that rapidly. I don't think if you obfuscate your responsibility to AI, I don't think you can then say, well, it's the robot's fault when I made that stupid decision. Or
Yeah.
that
Or the
decision
robot
turned
made
into
the
a
decision.
yeah, exactly. Well, why are you making decisions? You've got this talented team. Well, we did the best we could. We had the controls in place, and and this thing still went wrong. Okay,
Yeah.
there've been countless times when that's happened, and you've had some phenomenal brains on things, and things have gone very very wrong.
Yeah.
Who do you blame? Well, it's the organization ultimately.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
mean, we just go back to James Reason at that point. We're looking at Swiss cheese model, and if one of our defenses is AI or using artificial intelligence, and that's Swiss cheese, that's part of now the Swiss cheese model, in whichever bit we want to put it,
Mm.
then we have to understand that there's going to be holes in that too.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Anthony, this is going to be a fascinating workshop. But last section of this podcast, I want to ask you a couple of quick questions, and you're going to
Sure.
give me one or two words answers.
Oh, okay, right. Let's
Right.
see if that's
Okay.
possible.
Let's see. The first one: AI in safety, overhyped or underhyped?
Underused.
Okay. Biggest risk of AI in safety,
Cognitive offloading.
biggest opportunity.
Remains to be seen.
Yeah, yeah. Did you put that into ChatGPT?
No, I didn't.
Human judgment versus AI. Who wins?
Human judgment, every time.
One word for the future of safety.
Incredible.
That's great stuff. Anthony, I think this is going to be a fascinating workshop. Unfortunately, I'm running a workshop at the same time, but I would have loved to be in this one.
Oh
Um,
well, we'll just
but
get AI to do mine, and
to
then I can
do
come and sit on yours, or vice versa.
it, yeah,
Well,
yeah,
actually, the lady from Tesla is going to be there, so she can bring an Optimus robots in, and
that's
we
right.
can
Yeah,
sit and watch them.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, no, certainly. But anybody watching this podcast, you can enroll for Anthony's workshop on our website, safetyontheedge.com. There is still some space there, and you are going to be in for a treat to experience the amazing world that Anthony is discovering, uncovering, exposing in so many ways. And I think what you said earlier on, this is going to be a workshop to understand what we don't know.
Yes.
A little bit
So
about your PhD that you're starting. Tell
yeah,
us about that.
the PhD I'm doing is actually about preserving human intelligence, and what makes us truly human, and how we learn and how we expand our intelligence in a world of artificial systems, and not just as individuals, but collectively as well, as teams, as cities, as countries, how we actually preserve what it means to be human. And it's opened up this whole world of philosophy, psychology, sociology, which has never really been discussed within the risk world, except in a very, very small, few cases. But now, I think, as I said before, suddenly academics are looking into this, and from as a risk professional, it's just been fascinating.
Yeah, fantastic. Anthony, looking forward to you on the 7th of March in Baltimore. Thank you.
Very much so, Corey. Really looking forward to seeing everyone there.